Happy New Day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and watching. It is me, ASIYA. And this is a continuation from a video that I did earlier while I was out and about. This video is about being a user and being submissive and getting satisfaction out of that. I know it's a weird combination, but you know, like to switch things up. But yeah, I realized that for me, I get satisfaction out of being a submissive user. I mean, there's so much negative connotation put on the word user and the word submissive, and I just kind of looked at it from a different perspective, and I realized that, wow, like, we all are users to some degree, and we all are submissive to some degree, but it's up to you on how you're going to operate within those frequencies of being a user and being submissive. And based on how you operate within those frequencies, that will determine if you find satisfaction or dissatisfaction. That's just the way I see it. So I had this conversation with a couple of people, and I just expressed to them my perspective, and it was something new to think about. It was a branch off of the limited way in which people see those terms. But I use my cats as an example. I have an indoor cat, and then I have like six outside cats that pretty much they just live right outside my house. So this is like their territory. And I've been taking care of them for a while now, so it's what they know. And every day I submit to them. Every day I get used by them. And every day I use them because I enjoy feeding them. I enjoy seeing healthy cats and knowing that because of the attention and the care and the nurturing that I give to them, that they are very beautiful and well taken care of, and for me, they bring me satisfaction. So they use me, you know, every day they make their noises to demand food and attention, and I submit to them, I give it to them, and I feel good about it. So I'm using them as well. And if we look at how life operates, there's no way that we all aren't users in some type of way. When you have a baby, your baby is using you for your breast milk. Your baby is using you for your touch and your nurturing. You know, every time we inhale and exhale, we're using the plants, and the plants are using us. So we're users. That's the only way this life can actually operate. And we're submissive. We're submissive whether we're aware of it or not. We're submissive every single day. We submit to the things that we have to do to make sure that we are taken care of. Whether it's go to work and, you know, be told what to do by somebody else, like whatever it is, you have to be submissive to some extent every single day in your life, because that's just the way things operate. Now, the way in which majority of people look at the word submissive and user is based on negative situations that have taken place, and situations that are talked about from an emotional perspective of being angry or being disappointed or being in fear, and many other different low vibrational frequencies and thought forms. I've heard a lot of people say that, and even me to a certain extent, based on what I saw submissiveness as weakness. That's what I saw in my early years of life. I saw that as weakness. So because I saw submission as something that is a sign of weakness, I grew up rebelling against being submissive naturally, because it's like, oh no, I can't do that because it means that I'm weak. And that was just based on what I saw in my own reality. But now I've expanded my thinking and my way of looking at things, and I realized that in life you have to be submissive to a certain extent in order to have a balance in life. There's really no other way. And I had a really good conversation yesterday, and I was able to express my thoughts on this particular topic. And what I was saying is that if me or anybody else, if there was just a 100% refusal to submit in any type of way, you wouldn't have any friends, you wouldn't have any business partners, nobody will want to be in a relationship with you. There would be no equal exchange of energy if there was no level of submission within the situation. And the idea of being submissive only started making sense to me and becoming natural to me because I started stepping into who I am fully. When you are being submissive in a situation where you don't feel confident and complete within yourself, submission is experienced as something negative because you feel as if you're under some type of control. And at the end of the day, you don't have your full self to go back to after you finish being submissive. And for me, my refusal to submit in the past to certain situations was because of a fear and because of a sense of not being worthy and not feeling like I was good enough. And there were moments where I can look back and say that I did submit, even though I was unconscious of it. There was something inside of me that was trying to fulfill a void. It was trying to fulfill something that was missing within myself, something that I couldn't recognize or have awareness of within myself. So I found myself in certain situations submitting to a level of operating that was not really who I was, because I was looking for something else. And of course I didn't find it there. But now I can look back at those moments to where I was rebellious, and those moments where I ended up being submissive in ways that were unnatural and caused me a lot of dissatisfaction. And I can see exactly why those situations happened the way that they did. And a lot of people experience and know other people who are in situations where they are submitting to another individual or a situation that doesn't benefit them, and they are broken within themselves. They're like fragmented versions of themselves, and they continuously submit to a situation, and they're depressed or they're unhappy or they're fearful. You know, it's a lot of different types of situations of being submissive that play out in the world today. And just looking at the way in which my life has gone, and the way in which energy operates, and understanding different levels of consciousness and vibrations and frequencies, and now understanding human design on a different level. When I look at the way in which we operate as human beings, it's almost like I can't really see another way of finding satisfaction and being submissive unless you are solid and confident within yourself first. Because any level of submission to something outside of yourself is based on that feeling of being incomplete within yourself. So now I'm able to look at my life and look at the things that I focus on, and the things that make me happy, and the things that bring me satisfaction. And I'm able to see exactly how I'm going to be submissive in the situation. I can see exactly how I'm going to be a user in the situation, how I'm going to be used in a situation. And it actually gives me a higher level of self-empowerment, and it allows me to set boundaries in my life, because that was something that I didn't have, really. I didn't consciously set boundaries in my life. So because of that, there were always people jumping the boundaries that weren't there because they weren't there. And whenever that happens, it eventually turns into some sort of conflict or problem. And when you're unaware, when you're a fragmented version of yourself, and you are looking outside of yourself to find completeness, first of all, you're never going to find it. And second of all, people notice it. People can tell when a person can be used, or when a person is oblivious to something, or when a person will be submissive if they approach that person the right way. Or, you know, it's so many different scenarios, because your frequency is giving off this message that I am broken, I am not complete within myself, I don't have confidence, I don't feel worthy, I don't feel valuable. Your frequency and your lack of awareness gives that off to let people know if you can be controlled, or if you can be run over or not, or if you can be put into fear, or if you can be made a slave, or anything that deals with submission in a way that causes a downhill spiral in a person's life. And when people are used to you being like that, when people are used to you being broken and you're easy to be used and taken advantage of, if you start moving towards finding yourself and you start moving towards picking up the broken pieces of yourself and putting them back together and becoming complete and going within and really focusing on solidifying who you are, it becomes a problem for a lot of people who want you to be submissive. People who are used to you being submissive. People who are used to you not being able to think for yourself, or always needing direction from somebody else. People get used to that. And a lot of times it's because they are fragmented versions of themselves. So if you have a person who's a fragmented version of themselves and they don't go within to repair themselves and get themselves back to 100%, then they come across somebody that is submissive or somebody who can easily be used. It's almost like, oh, okay, well, instead of me repairing myself and standing strong as an individual, I'll just use you to do whatever, I need done. And nobody is ever really finding satisfaction in both sides, but the people that are more in control of the more submissive ones, when that person who is more of the submissive one, when they choose to branch off, then that person that's more in control expresses themselves in a way to show that they're not in agreement with that person moving along on their own path, because they really need that person. They got comfortable with having that submissive person around so that they wouldn't have to feel their own void. So we see these situations play out in relationships, in businesses, in even people who do spiritual work, like psychics and their clients, or healers and their clients. There's this dependency because both parties are fragmented versions of themselves. And when you think about it, if you have two individuals who are very solid in who they are, they know who they are, they know where they're going, they make their own money, they have their own resources, they're focused on bettering themselves all the time, they're focused on making sure that they stay solid and they don't become a version of themselves that is dependent on another person to feel secure. If you have two individuals like that, there's nothing in either one of those individuals that would want to hold another person back by expecting them to be submissive or expecting them to do what they want them to do. Like, a person that is at that level with themselves won't even think like that, because they're not going to want somebody hanging on to them. They're not going to want to be responsible for somebody. Because if you happen to be a person who is submissive and you feel like you haven't gotten yourself together, you feel incomplete within yourself, then whatever situation you're submissive to, you are dependent on that situation, or you are dependent on the person, or whatever it is. And then the person who is in control, the person who has others who are submitting to them, they are dependent on those submissive people. So there's always this level of, I need you because I'm missing something in myself. There's always that. But when you're dealing with individuals who are standing strong in their truth and following who they are as an individual, then you just have understanding. You have two people that understand, hey, if we come together, you are in my life and I'm in your life in this moment, and it's a possibility that after this moment we may never see each other again. But that's okay, because we're good. We're solid within ourselves, and life is going to go on. We're not going to come together and then start breaking down as individuals and start diminishing, because two individuals that are 100% will know that if they're dealing with somebody, or if they meet somebody that is going to make them feel diminished within themselves, then they're naturally going to break away from that person, because they've already chosen to put themselves first. They've already chosen that I'm going to be 100% within me before anybody else, before I deal with anybody else in my life. So that always has to come first. Anybody that comes into my reality that's trying to take that away from me, or is trying to make me submit to them, and it's not an equal exchange, it's not an understanding or an agreement to where it's not even looked at as being submissive. It's just more of, oh, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer, this is who you are, this is what you have to offer. Is just because we're both on the same frequency and we're not expecting anything from each other, we can just talk as two individuals who are solid within ourselves, and we can just agree to do business, or we can agree to be in a relationship, or we can agree to, there's no tug of war going on. It's just a merging of those two people, because they've already reached a level of balance and harmony within themselves. So the submission is just a part of the process of two people coming together who are solid in knowing who they are. And even if it's another situation where, like for me, I feel pretty solid in who I am, which means that if I do business with somebody, or if it's a new experience, I'm open to learn. So I'm already open to be submissive. I'm already open to, okay, what do I need to do here? If there's a project that somebody has and I get invited, or I'm asked, for my services, I'm automatically going to be in a submissive state, because I'm not dependent on this person. This is just an opportunity presenting itself to where I know that I can gain some type of satisfaction, because I'm going to be a user. I'm going to be a user within the situation. So an opportunity presents itself. Oh yeah, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to use this opportunity. I engage with the person and I'm wide open. Okay, what would you like me to do? I'm here to be of service. What would you like me to do? And if the person asks me to do something that I'm not capable of doing, I'm going to speak and say, oh, well, I'm not capable of doing that. What I can do is this, this, and this, but that other thing, I'm not able to do that. So, how do you feel about that? And that person may say, well, I don't need you. Okay, well, thank you. And I'm still 100%. I submitted. I tried to use that opportunity. It didn't work out. I'm not broken. I'm not feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I have no value. No one's ever going to want to work with me again. Like, all of that's gone, because when you do the work for yourself, when you focus on you and building yourself, then there's nothing outside of you that can break you. But that's not what a lot of people experience, because people experience situations to where they're trying to engage and trying to do business with other people, or trying to build a relationship with other people, and they're broken. They're already fragmented versions of themselves. So they just find themselves frustrated and angry and bitter and, you know, disappointed, all of these different things, because you were never set in who you are. And something really big came into my awareness over this last week, and it's very interesting, like how I felt about it, like how my body responded to it. And I thought about, what if every single person that I know, like every person that I know personally that I've ever met in my life, because some people that I don't even know how to get in contact with them anyway, but just all of the people that I'm aware of that I know, what if every single one of them like told me, like called me, emailed me, text me and said, hey, I don't ever want to talk to you or see you again. Lose my number, lose my email, lose my social media. Just have a nice life. I don't ever want to talk to you again. If every single person did that I know, this is the craziest thing, but I actually felt like my body responded with a sense of relief. Now that's extreme for a lot of people to think about something that major, like disconnecting from everybody that you know and then feeling a sense of relief. But that's exactly what my body felt. And I said, wow, that's really interesting. And the reason that my body responded like that was because I'm always stepping into a new version of myself each day. So if today everybody that I know in this moment disconnected from me, that just leaves just nothing but infinite space for me to attract a whole bunch of new people into my life, a whole new frequency of people, because the people from my past, they know me as a fragmented version of myself. Like the people from my past, from your past, when you connected with those people, you connected with them based on a lower frequency of yourself, a old version of yourself. And that's why they came into your reality at whatever time or point on the timeline. So it's already a lot of people who I'm not even in contact with. And that's because I'm no longer resonating on that frequency. And that's what happens. Like when you just go to a new grade, first, second, third, when you graduate and go to a new school, you're leaving a certain frequency and going to the next. So you're going to leave old people behind and meet new people. And for the first time, I can say in like the last solid month, this is the first time where I have felt the most confident and felt really, really secure and solid about who I am. And the way my thoughts are, the way that I'm expressing myself, and the way that I'm taking old ways of thinking and then like turning them into positive ways of thinking, turning them into a new perspective. All of that is based on me becoming comfortable with myself and solid with who I am. And that thought that came into my mind about, you know, everyone that I know just disconnecting from me, it felt like some type of rebirth. Because if I'm feeling solid, like super solid within myself, and I can honestly say that I feel that I would not have any type of breakdown or any level of depression or any type of sadness or anything from disconnecting from the people that I know, that's something that I've never really experienced before, because there was always some level of, well, you know, I want to stay connected to the people of my past. I want to eventually, you know, go back and share, you know, what I've learned with them. Or there was always something that wanted to stay connected to my past. And that something is gone. Like it's I can't really find it anymore. And I feel like that thought came up because to show me that it's dissolved, that want or that need to hold on to the past based on some type of insecurity that was lingering, or some type of fear that was lingering, is gone, because now all I can think about is connecting to people who are going to see me. Their first impression of me, their foundational impression of me, is going to be me at this level of confidence. And tying this in with being submissive, because being submissive naturally comes with being fragmented within yourself and dealing with other people who are fragmented within themselves. When you start to, like how I was saying before, when you start to come back together, it's almost like people don't respect it. Like people don't value you because they saw you when you were broken. Like that's their foundational impression. And this even ties into what I talked about with the first 7 years of a person's life is like the foundational 7 years. Like whatever a person experiences in the first 7 years, that's what they play out for the rest of their life. So that first impression is so big, and that's with anything. If, let's say somebody came to your house 2 years ago and the furniture was arranged a certain way, and they came to your house 2 years later and you got all new furniture and everything is different. When they come in, the first thing that they're going to say is, oh wow, you got new this, you everything is switched around, because what they remember is that foundational memory of it. So it's the same thing. Like when you meet someone, however you are when they first meet you, that's what they're going to hold on to. And I can actually think about situations with people that I know where it's hard for them to believe this new version of me. It's hard for them to believe that, like, I do Akashic record readings and I do human design readings. Like they it's almost like there's this denial that I've changed from that older version of myself, because who I was a few years ago is something completely different. But the people that knew me from a few years ago, there's still this belief that I'm still that person, and what I'm doing now is not valued, it's not taken seriously. And I totally get it. I guess when you really step into yourself, you get to a point to where you just don't care if people get it or not. It's like, hey, like, life has gone on. I'm not who I was in high school. I'm not who I was when I was 21. I'm 31 now. 10 years have passed. You know, I'm not that person anymore. And if you choose to continue to look at me as that person, then it's the best thing is for a separation to occur, because if you don't find value in what I have to offer, if there's no equal exchange, if you're not going to use me for what I have to offer, and if there's no submission going on, there's no using going on, then what's the point? You know, there's really no point, because I can't be submissive in the way that I was 10 years ago. That's no longer the level that I'm operating at. You know, if like what you use me for, then I don't have that anymore. I have something else that you can use for me. This is what I have to offer. This is what you can use me for. If you don't see any value in that, if that's not what you're interested in, that's fine. But, you know, I have to continue on, because there's a lot of other people who will see this impression of me. They will see this version of me, and this will be their foundational understanding, and they will recognize if they want to use me or not. And if you think about it, if you think backwards in this whole first impression thing, let's say somebody meets you now, and then 10 years from now, you end up where you were 10 years prior to them meeting you. So like if somebody meets me now, and then my level of awareness, my vibration starts to decline, and then I end up in a level of consciousness that I was in when I was 21, that person that met me now is going to look at me later and say, wow, what happened to you? Because it's gonna be a decline. So it's the same thing. You know, it's like a denial. Like, no, like you were doing human design, you were doing this, like, how did you end up like in the streets like this? How did you end up doing these things? And you were here. Like, what happened? It's like people would refuse to believe that. It would kind of like mess with their mind, because it's like, no, there's no way that she took that downhill trip, you know? So for me, it's just very interesting how the things that I've been talking about recently, like everything seems to have some type of interconnectedness with foundational thinking and foundational experiences, and how they change or how they don't change for certain people. The generational cycles that's tied into this, like, it's everything just has like some type of connection. And even with all of that, life just doesn't stop. It keeps going, and it keeps showing you more and more how you're going to continue to find things that are connected to whatever you've experienced. And then that's when you start to see the pattern. You start to see the pattern of your life, and you start to see the big puzzle, you know, and all of the different pieces that go into the puzzle. And the puzzle just never really ends for real. The picture just gets bigger and bigger, and it's like an infinite expansion of it. So yeah, even with this topic, like this topic started with one or two things, and now it has branched off into all of these other things, because that's what is happening. Like when you really get into you, when you really step into your individuality and start following your law and your inner authority, and seeing the magic that just comes out of you being you. Just be you. Just be you, and you'll see like what you're capable of. And it doesn't happen overnight, but if you get started, you'll start to see things immediately. And everything is just always branching off. Everything starts with just this one thing, and then the more you open yourself up, you branch off, and it just never ends. Like, it never ever ends, and there's no conclusion to anything. It just really is infinite expansion. It's infinite expansion, and knowing that you are here to be used. You are here to be a user. You are here to submit. And through that, people are going to submit to you. So there's always going to be a equal exchange. And all of the labels and all of the negative connotations to things, they just kind of fade away, because you're just in the flow of your life. You're just living the way that you're designed to live. And it just keeps going and going and going until it's time to go on to something else, you know? I love where I'm at in my awareness and my thinking, because I can't find any problems anymore. I can't find any fear or any doubts or anything that could take away the knowing of infinite expansion, and the knowing that even when I make a mistake, or even when something doesn't go in a way that's satisfactory for me, I can immediately turn it into satisfaction, because I know that there's something else coming that is going to have a follow through that ends in satisfaction. So even the mistakes and the disappointments give me something to look forward to. I get excited. I get excited when something doesn't go right in that moment. And it's so far away from where I used to be in life, and where a lot of people still are in life. And perspective is just so major. Your perspective is everything, because these things that we hear all the time about, you create your own reality, and you know, it's so much truth in a lot of the overused phrases that we hear, but because they're overused, you know, people don't really take them seriously, because it's like you always see them on a meme, or you see it in some type of quote, or it's just it's regurgitated. So it's like nobody is really at the consciousness of the true meaning and frequency of the quote, or whatever the phrase is. And things that I've heard for years, I'm actually feeling them. I'm feeling them inside of me. It's one thing to just read something and say, oh, you know, that sounds nice, that's positive. That's one thing. But when you're actually like, when your reality becomes that's like a whole nother level. And wow, I think that's why lately I've just been talking so much, because I can't find an end point to what I'm talking about. Like, I never stay on topic. I mean, I try to, but it's just so much to talk about, and so much that's connected. So it's like I just end up running my mouth. But going back to the subject, being a user and being submissive can bring you satisfaction, depending on your level of awareness, and the way that you perceive things. And if you find yourself disappointed a lot or find yourself frustrated a lot, it just means that there's more work to do. We all always have more work to do. There's never an end to this. As long as you have a human body, you are property of Earth. And your body is going to be living and expanding and evolving. So that means that you can't just say, okay, I'm done learning, and then your body continues to grow, because it's no way that you can just stop yourself from learning. I mean, you can put a level of force into doing the same things over and over again while your body is trying to evolve, but that's just going to cause deterioration, and that's going to move you in a direction towards death ultimately. So if that's something that you don't want to do, then just know that you're always going to grow. You're always going to evolve. There's always going to be a better day after the real bad one that you have. It has to come. Like, there's no way that it can't come, because that's the way life is designed to operate. So I know I have more things to talk about, and I'm going to put them in a separate video, obviously. But yeah, I hope that this different perspective of being a user and being submissive, I hope that it gave people a different look on situations that you've been through, or situations that you know that other people are in, and just life period. So thank you all for tuning in and watching. I am ASIYA. Free your mind to shine. Until next time.